So today we're going to go through several examples of naming compounds. I'm going to skip a few because I didn't go through these with you in particular in class. So that's why I'm going to cross through potassium permanganate here and Kr207, and I'll skip some as we move forward as well. And I'll also let you know that H2O2 is hydrogen peroxide. If you're not familiar with that already. Okay, so let's start at the top, and what I'll do is I'll do this first column and then we'll go to the second column. So we have potassium chloride is formed by K plus and Cl minus combining to make KCl. Calcium fluoride is Ca plus 2 and F minus coming together to make CaF2. Skipping potassium permanganate, barium sulfide is a combination of Ba plus 2 and S minus 2 to make BaS. Now keep in mind you can't just do the flip down method here because those will cancel each other out. Tin 2 nitrate is SN plus 2, and nitrate is NO3 minus. So together that makes this SN, we have to put it in parentheses, NO3 subscript of 2. Okay. Now, this next one is rubidium hydrogen phosphate. Rubidium has a +1 charge, so Rb plus 1, and hydrogen phosphate is HPO4 with a -2 charge, so this should be Rb2HPO4. Sodium hypochlorite is next, so this is Na plus and ClO minus, and as a formula that becomes NaClO, just like that. Calcium oxide is next, that is Ca plus 2, oxygen is just -2, and so it becomes CaO. That's not a Ca2O2, it's just CaO. Keep in mind these charges come from the periodic table unless they are transition metals. Next we have lithium acetate. Lithium is +1. Acetate is CH3 CO2 minus. Acetate has many different ways to represent it, so you got to be careful with that one. So it becomes Li CH3 CO2, lithium acetate. Next we have magnesium hydroxide. Magnesium is Mg plus 2. Hydroxide is OH minus. Keep in mind when we have multiples of a polyatomic ion, we need to put parentheses around those. So this becomes MgOH2. Next we have calcium carbonate. Calcium has a +2 charge. Carbonate is CO3 with a -2 charge, so that becomes CaCO3. Next we have magnesium nitride, so that's just nitrogen. Mg has a +2 charge. Nitrogen has a -3 charge. So this one's more complex. It is Mg3N2. Next we have barium sulfate. Ba has a +2 charge. Sulfate is SO4 -2. So this becomes BaSO4. Next we have gold 1 phosphate. This is a transition metal, and I just about drew it incorrectly myself. Gold is Au plus 1. Phosphate is PO4 minus 3. So this becomes Au 3 PO4. We can cross through potassium permanganate because we have not talked about permanganate. Beryllium iodide. Beryllium is Be plus 2. Iodide stands for just iodine, which is a halogen, so it's got a -1 charge. So this becomes BeI2. Ammonium permanganate. Let's cross through that one again because we have not talked about permanganate. Iron 3 bromide. Iron is Fe, has a charge of +3 because that's in the name. Bromide is Br minus. So that is going to be FeBr3. Okay, let's go up to the other column, and then I'll do the second page. So now we're going to take the formulas and figure out the name. Keep in mind that if we've got a transition metal, we need to tell people what that charge is. So starting with NaI, that is sodium iodide, and that is a separate word. So let me leave a space there. Next we have Ca and Br2. That is calcium. And then next we have bromide. Next we have Cs and O2. Cs is cesium, and that has a charge of +1. And nitrite is NO2 -1, so that becomes cesium nitrite. Don't even need to know the charges there, just need to know the names. Okay. Next we have AlP. That is aluminum. And phosphate becomes phosphide. That should be lowercase, my apologies. Next we have iron and oxygen. Here we have to tell people what the charge is on iron because iron is a transition metal. And since we know that the charge on oxygen is -2, that means that this iron has to be a +2 charge. So it's iron, parentheses 2, oxide. In a similar way, iron sulfate down here, sulfate has a -2 charge, so iron must be +2. So this is also iron 2, sulfate. Okay. Next we have copper chloride, and since copper is a transition metal, we also have to tell people what that charge is. Chlorine has a -1 charge, and there's 3 of them, so that means that copper must have a +3 charge in this case. So this becomes copper 3 chloride. Next we have NaHCO3. That is sodium, hydrogen, carbonate. Okay. Sr is strontium, so strontium chloride. I think I spelled that correctly, but I'm not a good speller, so it might not be. HF we're going to skip for now. Next we have Ru CH3COO. Remember, acetate can be funny. We can list this several ways, and that's what this big thing is here. So acetate is our anion that has a -1 charge. Ruthenium is a transition metal. In this case, it would have a +1 charge. So ruthenium 1 acetate is the name of that guy. Next, we've got sodium carbonate. And again, I apologize, that C should be lowercase in the second word. Here we have copper with 2 chlorines. So this would be copper 2 chloride. Next, we've got calcium with OH, which is hydroxide. So that's calcium hydroxide. Next one appears to be more complex because there's more atoms involved. This is magnesium phosphate. And that last one, we're going to skip that as well. Let's go to the second page. Okay. I'm going to start with that first column again. Let me blow that up a little bit. Sodium phosphate. Sodium is Na+, phosphate is PO4 - 3. So sodium phosphate should be Na3PO4. Potassium is K+, cyanide is Cn-, so it should simply be KCN for potassium cyanide. Aluminum perchlorate is Al. Aluminum has a +3 charge. Perchlorate is ClO4 with a -1 charge. So this becomes AlClO4 into parentheses 3. Tin-4 chloride. So this would be Sn with a +4 charge. Chlorine has a -1 charge. So this would be SnCl4. Next we have strontium carbonate. Strontium is Sr with a +2 charge. Carbonate is CO3 with a -2 charge. This becomes SrCO3. We're going to skip that next one. And the next one. Those are things that we haven't really gone over, so that is okay right now. Okay, so next we have chromium chloride. Chromium +2 chloride is -1. So this becomes CrCl2. Next we have aluminum sulfite. Aluminum is +3. Sulfite is SO3 -2. So this becomes Al2 parentheses SO3 3. Okay, now we have ammonium carbonate. This is a combination of 2 polyatomic ions. So NH4 is plus with ammonium. Carbonate is CO3 -2. So we have to put parentheses around the ammonium. NH4 2 CO3. And that is a 3. Okay. So now let's do some more naming. So up here we have barium and oxygen. That becomes barium oxide. Okay, this next one, that W is tungsten. It is a transition metal. And so we know that SO4 has a -2 charge. That means that tungsten must have a +2 charge. So tungsten 2 sulfate. That's why we need to know those charges on those polyatomic ions. This next one, Re is rhenium. S is sulfur. Sulfur has a -2 charge, so rhenium must have a +2 charge. So RHEN, rhenium 2 sulfide. So notice the difference between a sulfide and a sulfate. Sulfate is a polyatomic ion. Sulfide is just sulfur. Next we have K is potassium, hydrogen carbonate. Okay. Next we've got sodium, ClO2. If you can't remember what that is, remember ClO is hypochlorite. ClO2 minus is chlorite. We're going to skip that next one. So here we've got rhenium with 2 sulfurs. So this one's a little bit more challenging. We've got sulfur here as a -2 charge, and there's 2 sulfurs here. So in order to balance that out, if we've got 2 times -2, that means the negative charge is equal to -4. So that means now this rhenium is a charge of +4. So rhenium 4 sulfide is our actual charge there. Okay, next is beryllium. It's not a transition metal, so we don't have to tell the name. So beryllium nitrate. Last two. We have gallium sulfide and gallium with SO3 is sulfite. ITE. So people often ask me, does spelling matter? Well, I probably spelled some things wrong here. But in this case, one letter is the difference between this formula and this formula, which are quite different. So that's something you do have to pay attention to. Thank you very much, and I hope this was helpful.